All right, guys, we're back on the Kevin and Fred show, and this week joined by my friend out of Charlotte, North Carolina, Mr. Jay White. Jay, how's it going, dude?
Good. What's up, dude?
Oh man, not a whole bunch. So I'm excited to do this. You and I got the chance to catch up. Gosh, for me, it seems like 3 months ago already, but it was actually only probably 2 weeks ago. Here in Phoenix at the Built How event there that our friend and your partner Ben Kenny hosted in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's good to kind of catch up. I even got to share like 10 seconds of your spotlight, which was amazing on the stage, and but we got to catch up a little bit backstage and whatnot and just talk. And so I'm excited to kind of finish that conversation off here on the podcast and kind of just catch up with some of the other cool stuff you've been doing business wise.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. It's funny. It does feel like a few minutes ago. The market's changed that fast.
Right. There's been a lot going on. It's like starting to be like dog years or something with the
Yeah.
way how fast things are changing. We used to say that so for the listener, Jay and I know each other way back from our KW days. We crossed paths, and like 4 years ago when Fred and I moved our business to EXP. I mean, it's hard to even fathom. The company was like 12,000 agents then, and it's 85,000 today. So we would always talk about like in EXP years, kind of like dog years.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that's what the market is doing today. It's like 6 months is equal to like 3 normal years is kind of what it feels like with the rate of change. But Jay, why don't we start here, dude? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, how long have you been in real estate? I'd love to know what you did before real estate and kind of what made you make the decision to kind of get in. And then I want to take it from there. I got a few questions that I definitely want to ask about your current business, but let's go backwards first.
Okay. So I was born in Charlotte, so that makes me kind of a unicorn here. Everybody else is transplants from somewhere else. So I kind of lead with that most of the time when I'm talking to people here. But I grew up, man, we moved around a little bit. My dad was in the car business. So we moved Charlotte, North Carolina, Knoxville, Tennessee, Atlanta, Georgia, and back to Charlotte. Played sports growing up. Played basketball for a minute in college until I got hurt. And then that ended that dream of making it to the NBA. So I had to find something else to do. So my mom and dad, after I lost my scholarship, were like, hey, so we just don't see the value in paying out-of-state tuition for Georgia Southern University. So you can transfer anywhere you want inside North Carolina state lines. So I finished up at Appalachian State and actually quit school about 8 weeks before graduating. So I never went back and got my degree. It was just one of those things where I was like, I'm ready to go to something new. And I have ADHD, so like I bounce around quite a bit. You've known me for a while, but so I got into business. I got in the car business, kind of following my dad. I was doing finance and insurance and internet sales, and I built a business development center, which is like the first of its kind with Ford, where we were kind of working the database, but in the car business. And nobody had ever done that before. So we were on the forefront of that. And my dad got out of the business and I stayed in it for a little while. I was in New Bern, North Carolina. And if you don't know where New Bern is, it's a cool little city down on the coast of North Carolina. And I was the only like 26-year-old that I knew down there. So I had a boat and a country club membership and a dog, and finally just got tired of it and said, hey, I'm going back to Charlotte where all the people are my age. So I did that. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought I was going to sell advertising. And my dad said he had already gotten his real estate license. And he goes, why don't you go to school and get your real estate license? You can help me while you're looking for a job. And it turned out that that's what I think I was meant to do. So 2006, got my real estate license, started at Coldwell Banker, moved in 2010. The shift thing really hit Charlotte a little bit late, especially compared to you guys.
Yeah.
And so 9, 10, 11 were really hard for us. And so, I wasn't learning what to do. I wasn't learning how to build business. So I went to Keller Williams, where they had just, wrote this book called Shift. And next thing I know, I'm here, and we started growing a team in 2012, I think.
So when you, at that time, like, we were still Coldwell Banker during that time?
We moved to KW in 2010.
In 2010.
December 2010.
were you still like working with your dad at that time, or had you kind of gone off and
Yeah.
done your own thing? What was that? What was
No.
that?
So yeah, we were working together, and we really were just 50-50 partners. And um, I think the year we left Coldwell Banker, I think we did like 4 million in volume. Like we thought we were like in the top 5 or 8 of that office, something like that, right? Like no one knew you could build this huge business, and I thought we were doing okay. But when the economy really tanked, my dad looked at me and goes, "You need to go find something to do because I'm too old." And so I went, dude, I was bartending in 2009, 10, and 11. I was bartending part time just to make ends meet through the shift, because built business was still, it was growing, but it wasn't enough to support us
You know what I find
for a few more
interesting?
years.
You know what I find really interesting? Just like you're talking about, like you guys did $4 million, and it made you one of the top producers in that office. Um, there's so many, there's so many brokerages, and I'm not going to pick on any of them, because it's actually the majority. There's so many brokerages where they're effectively, their business model is such that it's incentivized for you to remain dumb and ignorant to the fact that
Yeah.
you can build a big business. Um,
They
the
actually
tr
discouraged teams.
Yeah,
Like they
absolutely.
punished
Yes.
us financially for that.
Yeah, I know, and that's the model at plenty of places, because uh the way they're set up, they make less money. It's like their perfect customer is like basically just getting by, or a
Mhm.
little bit better, right? A little
Yes,
bit better than
the
just getting
individual
by.
agent selling like 3 to 5 million a year.
Yeah, that is the bread and butter, probably truthfully, of any brokerage, if we're being real honest. But some models are set up to where like it's disincentivized to do any more than that. And then
Yeah.
so when you start to realize, number one, just the realization, it's like that whole 4 minute mile thing, right? Which just the realization, like there is something bigger and better that other people are doing, and that you could go emulate it. That's kind of like one step in that journey. But then there's that next step of like, dude, you could just put yourself around that. You could just literally be surrounded by people like that all the time. And, we've all heard the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. But there is a lot of value in spending time with people that are doing more, that truthfully are doing more than you in an area you would like to be doing more. So that's kind of funny. It was just a thought that came to me as you were sharing that story. So you make the moves of 2009, 10, 11 are still kind of rough. What happens after that? After the markets kind of start to, I'll say, settle.
Well, and so I think the bottom for us was really 12, right? So like that was when the pendulum started swinging back. Business was cranked up. I had actually left the bar at in Christmas 2011 or Christmas 2012. I don't remember now. But it was one of those things where I was selling houses out of there. And so it was kind of this pacifier, like easy thing. And it was kind of scary to quit. But my coach was like, you need to quit and have faith in what you're doing. And so I did. And we started building a team. We kind of went from this partnership with my dad to, I'm gonna go build this. Like I'm around some of you guys, Brian Gubernick was my coach, and next thing I know, I'm like, gosh, man, these people are doing like 100 million. How do I get there? Um, and it's funny, like I think my superpower, and some of this is just having relationships and keeping my mouth shut. But my superpower is getting in rooms I don't belong in. I'm in Gary's
Me too.
mastermind and I don't belong there.
Yeah,
Right. Brian brought me to Phoenix to teach in the market center there.
I
And I
remember.
get there the day early and I walk in and it's him and Brett and Corinne and you and Fred. And I'm like, oh my God, like just keep my mouth shut and take notes.
Yeah, what's so funny, man, is you say that. First of all, I've always been that's always been my MO too, is just figure out a way to get in the room. I was having a conversation with Nick Waldner recently, and he was telling me a story about a time that he did that, where he was like, just made it really awkward. I think it was for Gary actually it wasn't Gary. It was for another guy who had a mastermind where Nick just made it so awkward that the guy had to let him in the room, even though he hadn't earned it production wise. Right. So, I've been that's a common theme with people I see that end up building something big. But so it's in this room. I host Fred and I host these masterminds for top agents. It's invite only. Like we don't sell, theoretically, I guess we do sell tickets, but we don't advertise it. Like it's invite only. Like you can't just go find the registration page. And we do this three to four times a year here in Phoenix. And this kid got in the room and he just production wise, like he had really like deserved it. But he was a guest of someone who was absolutely sort of in our inner circle. And he just kept talking. He would talk about how he was so glad to be in the room with these people that have sold so much. Actually, Gubernick was there that day, did a little presentation for us. And so many others in the room that, sell hundreds, in some cases, hundreds of millions of dollars a year in real estate. And he just kept talking. I'm like, bro, you're in the room with people they've forgotten more about real estate this month than you've learned, like in your entire career. Maybe like just be quiet, just sit there and take notes for a little while. It's okay. It's okay to not talk. And I mean, I share that with, like, he's a sharp guy and he'll probably figure it out. There's probably some youth there, but one of the things that you figured out right away, which is like, oh crap, I'm in this room with some killers. You mentioned Brett and Brian and whatnot. Like, I'm going to take notes and see what I can learn. And that is a common theme I see with people that go places, is when they're in the room and they know they can learn something from the people they're in the room with, they shut up and kind of take notes and listen and then go implement, which obviously you've done.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, I think one of the biggest frustrations of people that are willing to share and pass down knowledge is you don't do anything with it.
Dude, I was having this conversation. I got a buddy, Justin Rendon, super good friend of mine. He's one of these guys that started out as his mentor. We became friends and he's my mentor now. He's sharp as a tack, right? And he's like, I'm going to butcher his saying, but the summary of it is this: is like, there's some people, you can give them an inch of knowledge and they'll take it a mile. And there's other people that require a mile and they'll take it an inch. And it's so frustrating, right? Like the right person, it, because you and I we were taught to use terms like talent. That's what talent is. Like talent shows up in your world. You give them an inch, they take it a mile. And then non-talent is they want a mile and they might take it an inch if they ever get going, right? And so you feel that in your business on some level. I know we all have. And it's whether it's actually someone who you have a partnership with, like actually works for you or in your company, or just a peer, like you mentioned, where you and I have definitely sat there. Like, you mentioned Gubernick. I've been friends with that guy since almost the day I got in real estate. And there's been plenty of times where I'm sitting in a room with him, I'm just taking notes, and it gives me a little bit, I'm going to run with it, right? You're going to take notes and you're going to run with it, because I think that's really what talent is, and what true business owners do is they show up and they take it and run.
Well, and the fastest way to get disinvited from those rooms is be an asshole.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so
Yeah.
It's me asking the questions and then not doing anything because they go, dude, this guy didn't get it.
So frustrating. God, nothing worse than that, right? I mean, yeah, and anybody who's run a team like yourself or me, or really any other business, or maybe a friend outside of business where they asshole, I love that. I love that phrase, because I think we can all relate to that, just constantly asking questions, but never implementing any of the advice. It's just so frustrating. There's one of Jay's keys to success: don't be an asshole. I love
Don't
it.
be an asshole.
We're gonna make sure that makes it in the notes. It's a quotable one.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's do this. So Jay, so you find yourself in the room. I remember that day. That's the first day I had known your name. I didn't actually know you, but I remember at the time Brian and I owned that market center together. And
I think we were Facebook friends at most until we met that day.
yeah, so I kind of know, I knew who you were, and I knew that you and Brian had a relationship, and he was like, hey, you should spend some time with Jay. I think he was like, I think you'd actually like him. Spend some time with him. So I remember us getting to spend a little bit of time together there. But tell me about, I mean, dude, that was 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
So it was 2016.
26. Was it that late? Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So like where was your business then? Because there's obviously there's some time there where you've now started to build something. What was your business like at that point? And where did you, kind of go on to next?
2016 was our high watermark until last year in number of units. I think we did like 141 or 142 or something like that. I think volume wise, we were right around 40 million
Okay.
ish. And I was actually not in the business full time. So I had stepped out of the team and was running our productivity coaching program for the market center.
Oh, I don't think I realized. Actually, now that you say that, I remember you telling me that. So you're effectively kind of doing two full-time jobs in a lot of ways.
Well, my brother's my partner, Mark, and he stepped in and ran the team, and he had been our, he was basically essentially our lead listing agent. He was listing everything on the team.
Got it.
So he kind of slid into that role graciously. And that he didn't ask for anything, and didn't ask why, just knew that like this would be good for us, is if I could go build this other business, it would raise our platform. It would, it would give us more credibility.
Be a funnel for talent, hopefully.
Well, it wasn't then. It turns out that it turns out that it was, but it was a real long game there.
Yeah.
But yeah, just so I did that for a couple of years. It just it put me in this really dark place, believe it or not. I ended up in therapy. When I was running the PC program, I was dealing with everybody's worst day. And
so first of all, bro,
man,
you say that, like as if that, number one, that's surprising, and number two, like that's a bad thing. Like I don't think I've met a human alive that shouldn't be in therapy. But God, even if there was humans that don't require therapy, they're not in real estate. I can tell you that. This business,
bro, I got in this really dark place and just hated life for a minute. And actually, it was, I think it was my sister was like, you need to go talk to somebody. And I did, and worked my way through it, and recognized that was one of the causes, or one of the root causes, is that I was just around negative people all day.
Dude, first of all, kudos to your sister for her fucking loving you enough to say that, because it can't be an easy thing to say to a sibling. So give her a high five for me. I think that's awesome. And yeah, dude, like dude, it's people. Like I remember you're making me think of like short sale days when I was first getting my business going. We were dealing mostly with people in the worst financial crunch of their life, and a lot of them were assholes. Like they were just, and then
they weren't happy about it, and they're going to take it out on
No.
you, right?
Yeah, and then on the other end, I'm dealing with people that work at an entry level position in a call center for a financial institution. Not exactly like the
sharpest tack in the drawer.
Yeah, not exactly the funnest people. And not like I did that before real estate. I know I worked in call centers prior to real estate, so I know what that's like. That life is hard. And so yeah, dude, I know exactly what you're feeling like. Anytime you deal with people, and real estate, for whatever reason, for most people, is a really emotional thing. The agents, the buyers, the sellers, like everyone involved, there's always emotions like on high. So I don't think that's surprising at all. And I love that.
Well, and really the breakdown for me, man, was I was getting pushed for the market, from not necessarily from the market center, but from, leadership / my coach / the way KW wanted productivity to be run, is I'm pushing people to grow into cappers, and some of them don't have those goals.
Yeah.
and so like I wasn't allowed to coach them to their goals. I was trying to hold them up to this goal that wasn't theirs. And so I think that's where some of that was coming from too.
Did you ever run into that on your team, dude? Like I know for us, a big change for us in our business was when we realized it didn't
not everybody wants to be you.
Well, not only that, yeah. So there's that learning lesson, and then there's like the realization of it. But then there was the lesson of like, you know what? And it was your business partner, Ben, who luckily took me under his wing super early in my career, like way before I deserved it. But I remember him telling me like, dude, if someone wants to sell 10 houses, let them sell 10 houses. They're a good person. They do everything. They're a good member of the community. Like if you want to sell 100, you just need 9 more people like that. Not a big deal. And I remember it was probably 2014. Actually, it's not probably, it was August of 2014, after I spent, Fred and I had spent probably 3 or 4 days at Ben's house in Bellingham, where we had kind of redesigned our business. And that was the realization of like, cool, Jay, you're on the team. You want to sell 50 houses this year? Awesome. Steph, you want to sell 50 houses? Awesome. Steve, you want to sell 10? Great. Like high five everyone. And I just knew that if I wanted to sell 500, it was, or 200 or whatever the number was. It was just a
It's a
math
math
problem.
problem.
That's
Yeah.
all it was. And then
Ben taught
like
me the
that,
same thing this past year.
dude, it for me, I don't know what you felt like, but like, because I'm like that guy, and I think you're similar in the sense of like, I always saw the person, even if they only behaved like they could sell 10 a year, I always believed that they could sell 50. Like I could see the best in
You
them.
see the potential, right?
And so for me, dude, that was super freeing. And I think that was the thing that allowed us to really build our business. And I mean, dude, we took off. Like the following year was like a rocket ship for us once we really tweaked a few things, that being one of the major things.
Yeah, no, like I said, Ben. So I joined Place in last year, right, 2021, and part of the business planning that I had always done prior was like, okay, so cool. You take all your agents' goals, you kind of add them up and go, okay, what's the gap here? And the reality is that I got to go recruit a couple of people because I might lose a couple of people, but I got to pick up the slack. I got to personally produce the number between that number and my goal. And he really flipped the script on that. And it's not just Ben, but it's Ben and Chris, right? It's their philosophy that has come down through like the OGs at Place, and as through Jolene and the business planning that her and John Powers have built for the Place network. Like, it's like, oh, wait, I can just say, here's my goal. And this is what my goal is. And I'm going to recruit to my goal. And you're going to do whatever your goal is. And that's cool. But it's just a part of my goal.
Yeah. And as long as they support each other, I think it's really great. There's this kind of bullshit stage talk thing that goes on in real estate for whatever reason. It's like, well, we have this certain per person productivity, and it's bullshit. Like, it's like cool if you have high per person productivity. We did too when we had a small team. But the reality is like, it's just a law of averages. The more people you have, the lower that number goes. Like, what's the real number? Like, it's not like you're not going to only have killers. Ben coined this term, at least for me. Talk to me. He's like, the only way you hire the Navy SEALs is first you got to hire the Navy, right?
Yep.
You got to
I've
hire the
heard that
Navy.
one time in the last year. I've heard it 50, man.
Dude.
No, but it's true, right? So like, we did, okay. So just kind of continuing. So like 2016 to 2020, we bounced around between like 900 and 1.2 million GCI. Like, we just kind of hit this ceiling, couldn't figure out how to do it. We tried to recruit and go big, and we couldn't get them into production quickly enough. So we lost people or actually let some of them go. My daughter had a big health scare. I came back to the office and was like, hey, everything's going to look a little different from now on. Like, I'm going to feed my family.
Yeah.
And so there was all these different things that were happening, and I just couldn't figure it out. Like, Brian and I would talk, and I apologized to him after I joined Place and saw what we did this year, because I felt guilty that he and I couldn't figure this out. And he goes, the difference is, man, you got the playbook now. We were trying to still invent the playbook for you. And I think that's a pretty cool statement.
Dude, he's dead on. You literally do, like, you quite literally have the playbook now on how to do that. So let me ask you that. I wasn't necessarily planning to go here, but I think it's important. Number one, because I get asked a lot, because just because I think the people who I'm in close proximity with, I get asked a lot about Place. So I'd love to talk about Place. But dude, as a guy who, even though you weren't hitting your goals theoretically, you weren't reaching the potential that you thought you should get to, you're still, by any measure, a very successful real estate agent. Like, you had a good real estate business, maybe not the one you wanted, but it was really good, better than 99% of all other real estate businesses out there. And then you go and partner with Place. And I think for a lot of people,
for some of you guys, you're like, what's up? What are y'all doing? Why are you doing? Like, I got
like,
that a
that's
lot
a
from
head
you
scratcher.
guys.
They look at that as like, what do you mean? Why are you going to go give up? They look at it as what do they give up? Right. So
yeah,
I think you and I know it's more like, what do you add? What are you adding to your business?
So what was
that mindset?
Yeah, for me, I was pretty comfortable with where we were with things. Mark had stepped off as I came back into the business. Mark stepped off and started building a property management business. He did a phenomenal job building that. He's actually getting ready to come back into our sales business full time.
Awesome.
So he's built that from literally zero to, I think we've got 280, 300 doors now. And
dude,
like
that is fun. That's
Yeah.
phenomenal, bro. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's just been his whole focus. Um, and so he's built that up into something where it's making money, and we built it as a part of the moat around our business, right? Because we were literally handing those to property managers, and they would say they wouldn't prospect our clients, and then we found out they would,
Yeah.
right? So we just were like, all right, we're gonna build this, and then we're also gonna let everybody in our market center around us, utilize our services, and we're not going to take their clients from them. And we've lived by that. So we weren't paying referral fees, and it actually turned out to be a really strong business. He's done a great job with it. So, it's funny, right? Like we had built that. We were doing some other things. We were kind of playing around with wholesale a little bit, trying to figure out if we wanted to get into that, but trying to figure out what our business empire looked like. And the more he and I talked about it, I was going to a mastermind group that, Ben and Brett had the mastermind group, and then, they separated, and Ben came into that. And Ben and I had known each, I think I met him in 2011 or 2012 at family reunion, but we never really spent time together. It was just, we knew each other. I'd been around him, Gary's mastermind, been with some of you guys around him, been with Brian around him, but not really in relationship with him. And, I think he just asked me the question. He's like, so, what's going on in your business? And I was like, man, this is 2019 now, or maybe the end of 2020. So like the world had opened up. We had our first mastermind in person again. And he asked me that question. I was like, man, I feel really vulnerable. And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, so like looking out 5 to 10 years from now, open doors in our market, Zillow's buying houses, offer pads in our market. There's all kinds of hedge funds buying houses in Charlotte. It's kind of like Phoenix East, right? Like
Yeah.
all of this technology stuff, compasses coming in, like all of this stuff. And I just feel really vulnerable. I think we're going to see compression on commissions. I think we're going to see the real estate industry as we know it go away. And I think we're going to have mega teams. And I think we're going to have the individual agents that don't have, maybe they have a part-time assistant, or maybe they even have a full-time assistant, but they're doing most of the work themselves.
Yeah.
And I was like, and one of those sounds like a business, and one of those sounds like a job.
Yeah.
And so if I can figure out how to do this, that's what I want to do. And he goes, you should really talk to Katie Benson. And I was like, cool. Who's Katie Benson? And she's our director of growth at Place. And I think what we're building at Place would really be interesting to you. So I sat down, had breakfast with her the next morning, and I was like, ooh, this is, when you start talking about the layers of what this looks like, it's exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I think anyway. And so I went through my due diligence, came back to Charlotte, talked to my dad, talked to my brother, talked to Christina, our sales director and lead agent, right? Talked to Lauren, our director of operations, who was out on maternity leave. And the consensus was like, this is, if you can stand financially to give away half your money, this could be a really good thing. And so I went through my due diligence, met with the financial team, and I was like, I think all in all, if I ran the business exactly the same way and did everything the same way, at the end of the year, I'd lose like $20,000 based on my 2020 income. I was like, dude, if 50% of my headaches go away, I'll pay $20,000 for that.
Yeah. All day long.
Right. So, I think we split 50% of the profits. It doesn't mean I'm going to make 50% less. So
Yeah.
as I
That's the
started
part
going,
people miss that.
Yeah. As I started going through the process, and then they were like, okay, so here's what you'd have to do. Because this is, again, part of the due diligence, part of the financial analyst part of this is, if you did this, which is really conservative, then this is what this is what this would look like. This is what you would make. But if you did this, this is what it would make. And I was like, I'm going to choose that. Right. Like, now how do I get there? Right. So that was the next question, is how fast can we grow? We needed to retool. Our director of operations did not come back from maternity leave. So I had that problem. We ended up having to push our launch 90 days out. You talk about partners, like Ben and Chris are on the phone, on text with me, like helping me work through this, going, all right, who do we have? What talent do we have already? Or do we need to hire this? And we ended up being able to keep who we had, and actually both kind of got an elevation in responsibilities and a raise in pay. And both of them are now, I don't have a director of operations. We have operations leaders. One's transactional, one's everything else. And it's been great. And so we rebuilt our, the cool part, and you talk about speed of implementation, like you've always kind of said something to me about that. But the reality is that, okay, so we're going to go through this operations launch. It's going to take like 90 days, and we're going to be a different looking team. Like the way we do things is going to be completely different. And I remember the first couple of weeks, Katie and Amanda would come to me and go, how do you want to do this? And I was like, why don't we ask Bellingham how they do this? And let's just do it that way. Right. Like, why would
like the light bulb
I'm
goes
not
off.
I'm not the answer here. And because how we've been doing it doesn't work. It limits us. So real quickly they learned, okay, just call, Tessa, call Olivia, call Bellingham's operation people and go, how do you guys do this? Because my answer was, listen, in a town of, I think Ben says 85,000 people, they sell 400 homes a year.
That's a lot.
We're in a town of 100, 1.5 million, and we're selling 100 a year. So like what we're doing is not the answer. What they're doing is the answer. Let's do that.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you. So I mentioned earlier about spending a few days with Ben in 2014. I remember in Aha, I had that trip was probably halfway through the first day. But what Ben would do, and I'm sure knowing Ben the way you do, you could see this is like he would spend the night at his house. Like, we'd hang out, we got in town, hung out, had dinner, talked about what we wanted to accomplish over the next few days, go with him to the office the next day. And he kind of like, he would be like, hey, all right, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to go shadow this person and blah, blah, blah. And then when that part is done, say scripts or whatever, you're going to come back over here and we're going to talk about what you learned. And then I'm going to send you, then he would send us to the next department. Right. Mm-hmm. And I remember after about like the third or fourth time of talking to somebody in one of his departments of going, why are you doing it like that? Blah, blah, blah. Like so much that's so inefficient. We do. And I remember thinking, yeah, well, he sells 450 homes in Bellingham and I sell 150 in Phoenix. So I'm going to shut up. Like, you know what I mean? I just had that realization. Same thing. It's like, okay, like it doesn't have to be perfect or what I think it should look like. There's elegant answers in the really simpleness of just getting it done. And they have that playbook obviously figured out. So I love that you got that lesson as well. Tell me what it, so
it's the same as being in the room that I don't belong in, right? Like I'm in a business I don't belong in.
Good point.
So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because they've got a proven track record.
Dude, that's such a good point. So give me an idea now. So you've been with Place for about a year, right? If my math is right.
Yeah, like 13, 14 months.
So what's that been like for you in the first 13 or 14 months? Tell me about like the production. Tell me, but also tell me about like the personal side. Like what has that brought you?
So, okay. So we start recruiting heavily in like December, January.
Okay.
Cause like I've got this huge, Jacqueline Smith is my consultant at Place, right? I don't know if you know her.
Or not. Yeah, she's a stud.
She's what Ben calls a killer, but
she is a killer. Yeah.
I was listening to Ben and Chris, and I would recognize the people that they started mentioning over and over going, okay, that's a top operator. That's a top operator. And going, hey, like I'm reaching out to these people going, okay, what's your superpower and how can I learn to do what you're doing? Right. Like very strategic, like Jacqueline, Adelina, Jolene, John, Sarissa, like these are the top of the top. Right. So like, how do I get in relationship with them where like, I'll do anything for any of them because they're willing to pour into me. Right. That's just the way I look at it. So I started picking pieces and going, okay, so I want to recruit. Who's the best recruiter? Adelina's the best recruiter because I don't know how many people she's recruited, but she's killer. She's the best recruited.
She's a killer, right? Dude. I love that woman. She is a killer recruiter amongst other things.
So like the conversation was, okay, what is she doing? What's her model? How does she do it? So that I can implement it and kind of repeat that here. Because now we've built the platform, like we've rebuilt operations and we've built agent services out. Now I got to fill it up. And so, we have the ability to support our agents more than we ever have. I can grow faster than we ever have. And so it really just became like, here's the process, stick to the process. And it's funny because like the first month I was just signing people And Katie and Amanda, our operations leaders, came to me and were like, hey, stop it. Like, you're hiring people just because they have a real estate license. Like, what are you doing? Because you say this is what we're going to do, and then this is not what they sign up for. So we went back to the drawing board and said, and Jacqueline helped me with this. She's like, yeah, so you see everybody's potential, but that's not really who they show up as.
Yeah.
So we slowed it down and broke the recruiting process into like four or five steps. And one of those steps was Katie and Amanda sitting down with them and going, here's what launch really looks like, right? Like, here's what our onboarding looks like. Here's what launch looks like.
Hold on.
This is what you're signing up for.
I got to back you up for a second, because I want the listener to really get what you just said. You're recruiting, you're out having these conversations with these agents. And then you said Katie, and you said the other name was Amanda.
Katie and Amanda.
Okay. So Katie and Amanda don't work in your office, do they?
No, they're our operations leaders.
They're your
right?
operations
so
leader.
Combined, they're our DOO.
Right. So, okay, got it. Okay. So part of their process now is to come in and like fully explain, here's what that onboarding thing is with us here at, I'm going to call it Jay White /place.
Yeah. So like, how you and I can get going in a conversation and it can take a left turn, and we don't cover everything. They literally sit down with a checklist and go, did you guys talk about this? Did you guys talk about this? What kind of questions do you have?
Dude, that is gold. First, yeah. Well, dude, we're salespeople at the end of the day.
Right. Like, I'm trying to influence them to join our team.
Yes.
That was what I was doing.
Yeah. And then you got someone who's got the mindset of operationally, they're like, whoa. Let's make sure that literally the boxes are checked.
This was the light bulb that went off in my head. I was doing the exact same thing to them that was being done to me when I was PC coaching.
Dude, that is, if anybody listening to this podcast just catches that one nugget right there, that could change their business and should just completely change the game for them. I'm glad that came out, dude, because that's super powerful. Tell me about, all right, so you've had to recruit, you have recruited a lot of people. Give me the results, dude. Like, I think people want to know, like, great.
Yeah. So
you had a good business, but tell me, what is it like now?
Yeah. So last year, the last quarter, we were with Place. So last year was kind of a blended number. We did 145 transactions. Like, it was our best year ever in number of transactions, best year ever in volume, best year ever in GCI. So we were at like 57 million, I think 1.2 is what we ended up with in GCI. So this year, right now we're at 18 agents. We've hired a bunch of virtual support for Katie and Amanda.
Love it.
And then, so we're going to end up right around 180 units in a market that's down.
I was gonna say that's a big jump in a normal year. It's a hell of a jump in 2022.
Yeah. And most of our agents are in their first 6 to 12 months in real estate. So, and every one of them is in production. Like, we've kind of figured out this onboarding and launch process at Place. And then we've kind of done some things locally to tweak it even more, to where like they're getting in business like in their first week. Like, it's very rare for them not to have something under contract in the first 30 days and get paid in 90.
That's fantastic, man.
So that's been our secret sauce. And so I think we're going to do 1.1, maybe 2.1, 2.2 million GCI. So we've added $1 million GCI. And honestly, if the market hadn't really changed in about 60 days ago, we probably would have hit 2.5.
Dude, that's phenomenal. And I gotta imagine the future is bright for you. You probably don't feel as exposed and as concerned about the future as you were at that time you and Ben sat down.
No, there's some it's funny. There's some definitely less anxiety about, with the future of real estate. I feel like I'm in a really good, I'm in a really good company with some really smart people, with people who aren't sitting on their laurels, right? Like, it's very progressive. Like, we're always looking at what's next. What are we doing? How do we do that? Like, from bringing in Chris Stewart with experience with Berkshire Hathaway, like,
love that guy.
There's some serious momentum going right now. I mean, I think I'm number 60, and I think now we're at like 160. So like, the growth is phenomenal, and I don't think we've hit the hockey stick yet. I mean, Veronica, right? Figueroa, like, there's some huge hitters coming on now
Yeah.
that, it's just really cool to be in that environment around those people. And it's even cooler. And I can't even imagine what, like, again, Jacqueline and Tamara and Adelina and some of the OGs are feeling like now, because like this is their baby. They did create this. I'm just lucky enough to be on the back end of those guys and on the front end of all the new people. So I'm in a pretty cool spot too.
Yeah, I love that. It's they're kind of like how I feel about some of the super early, I say super early, but like people that were a year, 2 years ahead of me at EXP that really kind of, I was like, said, they took the arrows in the back for the rest of us. And then
Yeah.
like for us, it's been like, we got way more of a polished, we almost got like they cleared the pavement and then they actually like laid down the cement before we got to go on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
On the
for
highway,
sure.
that's kind of what it feels like. I gotta imagine it feels the same for you. So, dude, let me do this before I got a few more questions for you before we wrap up. But before I do that, so there's people listening to you right now. I guarantee that they're like they identify with your story. Maybe they're interested in place, but they weren't sure. They want to talk to someone who's kind of like not going to sell them, but maybe give them more of their story. Like where do people find you? Where do people reach out to you? What's the best way for people to do that?
Man, honestly, the best way is my cell phone, 704-654-0733.
Say that
My
one more.
email,
Say that
yep.
one more time.
Cell phone is 704-654-0733.
You're brave, man, giving out your cell phone on the
I
internet.
know, right? I was like, should I? But no, I mean, like, I'm going to be authentic. You gave me yours.
Just not on the podcast, but
No,
yes.
not on the podcast, right? But then, okay, so honestly, my email is jay@jaywhitegroup.com. So jaywhitegroup.com.
Awesome. And guys,
Yeah,
reach
if you
out.
want to
Like,
bleep out my cell phone, that's your call.
no, I'm gonna leave it. You put it out there. Dude, the cool thing is like you are like this is who you are. Like this is how it is anytime you and I talk, whether on the phone or in person. And I respect that about you. And I love that about you. I love watching what you've been able to accomplish, especially with Place here in the last year plus. Because I think it's special and I think it's something that uh more and more people, not just, we already know it's going to take off. Like we are places already, like in my opinion, like the story's been written. It's just a matter of time. And yet there's still a lot of people that don't realize that, but they're going to see stories like yours, and so many other people's. I think of like Aaron Lebovic, who is my first expansion partner, who's now with Place, and so many other amazing operators that you guys have that I call friends. And um, it's going to be a thing that helps a lot of people not just survive the future of real estate, but like thrive and continue to be relevant in it. And I think that's important. And one of the things I love about Ben and Chris is that they actually have the heart. It's very much how I feel about Glenn, the founder of EXP, is like they actually have the heart for the future of real estate agents. And that's so important because most people don't. Going back to the first part of our conversation, where it's like most brokerages, most operators want to keep us as agents kind of dumb and in the dark. And so these guys are the opposite of it. And I love what they're doing. Um, Before we totally wind up, to not totally shift gears, although it may be, as you and I recording this, I mean, dude, we're well into the fourth quarter now. By the time this thing airs, it'll be probably last week of October. What are you excited about in 2023 for in your business? Like, what's the thing that has got you juiced up about, or, losing sleep over, if you will?
So it's funny. I think if now was happening in 20, maybe honestly, anytime before I joined Place, right? But specifically, if this was happening, well, I did live through this, right? Like 2009, 10, 11, I went and got a job. So I was losing sleep over it then. I'm not losing sleep over it now because I really realize, number one is I've got this business and we've done a lot of transactions. And so we have a lot of past clients. We have people that trust us in the community, and they know that we know what we're talking about. And I think for us, like we're not calling it boot camp, but that's kind of what we're doing, right? Like again, All right. Who got ahead really, really fast? Well, Kobe has this thing he talks about, right? So most NBA players would practice in the morning and have lunch and practice in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Right. And Kobe said, if I get up at 3 a.m. and work out at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m., I'm done by 6. I have breakfast. I go work out when normal people work out. I have lunch and recover. I go practice with the team, and then I go recover and then eat dinner. And then I go work out again on my own. And then I go to bed. I'm getting 4 workouts and everybody else is getting 2. And by the time I'm 10 years into this, they're never going to catch me.
Yeah.
Right. So like we're doing script practice twice a day. We're doing accountability meetings twice a week on our team. Right. So because I've got agents, remember, 6 to 12 months.
Dude.
So like we're focused on building skills at a really quick pace at a really high level, because if we can do this in 90 days and it's going to take everybody else 6 months or 9 months to figure this out, like we're already selling enough business. We already have a big enough sample size. We already know this has been happening. We've been working on it for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Everybody else is just figuring out we're in this thing. So we're already that much far ahead of them. And if we can get another, like if we can really double down for the next 3 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months from now, we're going to be, nobody can catch us in our market.
Dude, you've got, this is the Mamba mentality of like real estate teams. I love it. And dude,
our team has totally bought in. That's the cool part.
We literally might have to do a part 2 here, Jay, we're gonna, I don't know if this is gonna be like training for gold or like you're a basketball guy, so I don't know if you've already seen it. Maybe we talked about it actually at Bill Tal, but have you watched the Redeem team yet?
The Redeem team? Yeah.
Man, the intensity that Kobe Bryant brought.
Yeah. I don't know that they would have won the gold if he hadn't have showed up.
Actually, I would bet that they would not have. They wouldn't even have been in the gold medal game. Those guys.
Well, they talk about that first week he was there, right? Where all the players are going out to the club in Vegas, and they come in at like 5 or 6 in the morning. Kobe didn't go with them. And at 5:30 in the morning, when they're coming back in from going out, like he's in the lobby catching a cab to go to the gym with his gym bag on. And then they said, the next day, D Wade and LeBron did it. And by the end of the week, everybody was doing it. Right. So like, I just came and said, look, guys, nobody in this room, me included, has been in the market we're in right now. Right. Like I was in a different market and it shifted, but this is different than that market. So like anybody that tells you they know what's going to happen is wrong. So what we're going to do is we're all going to double down together, and everybody signed up.
All right. Here's the deal, Jay. I have to run because I have a class I've got to teach in a few minutes. You and I are having a second conversation, and I want to focus more on this. I'm just going to call it the Kobe mentality of training and education. Maybe you and I need to wait 3 or 4 months to have this, but I love where you're going with this. And I think that we need to talk about this more, because you're talking about skills and we're going into it. Somebody said it last week. I think it was Rieger, who was at a private mastermind that I put on. He was teaching for us. He said the skill in this market, skillionaires become millionaires. And like, that's what you're talking about. So we're going to wrap it up here. You and I are going to have a part 2 on this, because I think it's too important not to give it its own literal episode where we just dive deeper into that. So dude, thanks for spending the time with me today. This has been freaking fascinating. Love hearing your story, bro. I love what you're doing. I love watching you win. And I love the way you're pouring into your people.
Oh, man, I appreciate you cheering me on. That's, it's funny, right? Like I hold you guys, not just you and Fred, right? But I hold you, everybody that was in that room, and Ben and Chris,
mostly me and Fred, not so much Brian, but mostly me and Fred.
No, but dude, y'all are my Mount Everest, man. So like whenever I'm struggling with something, that's my go-to crowd. And I appreciate you guys throughout the years. And, for stuff like the podcast, man, where you're just pouring back to agents, it's not like you're getting rich off this. And it's not like you're selling books off this. You're doing this for agents.
Yeah, no, it's because it's important, because of people like you, and me being the guy too, like, give me an inch, I'm going to go a mile. Like that's why you do stuff like this, is because there are people that will take that inch and run a mile with it before they come back and ask for another inch. And that's important. So dude, I so appreciated this. Guys, we'll be back again with Jay White for part 2, probably in the next 30 to 90 days, I'm going to guess. And
I
I'm
mean,
already excited.
with the market shifting, I'd rather do it sooner, because if it can help anybody avoid getting out of real estate, I'd really like to do that.
Yeah, well, what I think might happen is we do it sooner, and then there's a follow-up to like
Then we can
hear
come back
about,
and do the results.
because what's gonna be important is like you look at your results year over year this year. That's one thing, that's a good improvement. But now let's compare it to the rest of the market's year over year results. Now it looks out of this world. And as my friend and business partner Curtis Johnson says, the passing lanes are about to get really wide,
Mhm.
and we're approaching that time. So, all right, Jay White, thanks a lot for
Thank you,
being
buddy.
here. Listeners, thanks a lot. We'll see you again next week on the Kevin and Fred Show.